After you've done all this work of doing nothing but telling me about you and present you 3 or 4 or maybe 5 different franchise brands, you and I will have an overview conversation on these brands. Working with a broker like myself, the advantage for you is we've already done a lot of that preliminary work. So by the time you get in front of that franchisor, we already know that you're gonna meet the criteria that they've set up, because we've already gone through that. And I'll hold your hand through that process as much or as little as you want my input on, and that's what we'll do together. The process or the steps that we're gonna go through together as part of your education into franchise opportunities starts with you and I spending about 45 minutes and getting to know you. That includes a lot of questions. You give me a lot of answers. We'll review your Zoracle, which is your behavioral assessment, find out how you're wired, what your hot buttons are, what you're good at, what you like. We're also gonna look at your net worth analysis that you put together to find out not only what you can afford to invest in a franchise, but where your comfort level lies. And that's all part of the process. Industries that you may be interested in, what your skill set might be. Are you good at sales? Are you good at marketing? Are you more of an operations guy? All of these things are gonna come out in that first meeting, in that first step, which will lead us to the second step, which is after you've done all this work of doing nothing but telling me about you, I then take that information, and this is what I'm good at. I'm then gonna come back to you and present you 3 or 4 or maybe 5 different franchise brands that meet that criteria that you and I established that was important for you. And I'm gonna present overviews of these brands, why they're good, what maybe to look for, what's the strengths, and you and I will have an overview conversation on these brands. After that, the next step is in your lap. I'm gonna ask you to assess these brands and rank them, high to low. Whichever brands become your top 2 are where we focus on initially. And that'll springboard us into the next step, which is introducing you to the franchisor. Keeping in mind that any franchise investment is just that. It's an investment, but it's also a franchise is awarded. So while you're being introduced to the franchisor and learning about them and getting to know them and their comfort level, they're doing that same assessment for you. Working with a broker like myself, the advantage for you is we've already done a lot of that preliminary work. So by the time you get in front of that franchisor, we already know that you're gonna meet the criteria that they've set up, because we've already gone through that. So after you introduce yourself, you get an introduction to that brand, maybe you introduce yourself to 2, maybe 3, then we decide of those 3, are we still gonna go down the road? Maybe you eliminate them, maybe you focus on 1. But the next steps in the process are as follows, and some of the franchisors do it differently, but these are the steps. There's going to be a step where you're going to review your territory. Is your territory available? What does your territory look like? They'll describe what goes into the configuration of territory analysis. You will then have an opportunity to review what's called a franchise disclosure document, which is where every franchise in America is governed to produce this document. It's a long legal document, but there's only a few really important things in there that I help walk you through. That document, by the way, is where franchisors disclose earnings. That's where you start getting a little idea as to what kind of revenues and margins some of the franchises make. After that step, after you've been introduced to the franchise disclosure document, you'll be given an access to the franchise network, and you'll conduct as many call validations as you feel are important. You'll get a chance to talk to other franchisees. You'll be able to ask them all sorts of questions. This is when you get real specific feedback, because they have access to their books and their revenues and their profits. They can share that with you. The franchisor obviously doesn't have that information. So after you've done that, after you've gone through your territory, and after you've gone through your understanding the franchise disclosure document, and after you've done your call validations, you're probably 80 to 85% confident that this is the direction you want to go. The next step is a discovery day, where most of them now are virtual, some are in person. Every brand does it differently, but that's your opportunity to spend the day with the team. You learn about the marketing, you look about the coaching, you learn about the executive team, you learn everything there is to know about the people that you're gonna work with, because when you sign that franchise agreement, you're making a 10-year commitment. Once you're done with the discovery day, most candidates are 95% certain they're gonna sign. And then the last step is signing your franchise agreement, sending in your franchise fee, scheduling your training, going to training, getting your franchise open as quickly as possible so you can start making money. And those are the steps we're gonna go through together, and I'll hold your hand through that process as much or as little as you want my input on, and that's what we'll do together.